Okay, so here we are in our next module, Edit Modes. I want to do a little bit more than just what's on the page though, because otherwise this thing would just be so short as to almost be pointless. I want to introduce a new sound effect in because realistically this background noise, it just sounds way loud, and then in particular you'll notice here where it gets really clipped, it sounds like I'm in a thunderstorm. So this is just awful. I can't really use this, and I'm even going to go so far as to say I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to make it inactive. Now Pro Tools isn't even like trying to put effort into doing it. And I'm even going to hide this track from myself because it's awful. It's bad. So I want to rebuild this with sound effects. So I'm going to first go into my sound effects library by using a workspace browser. That's Option I. And we've used this in class before, but I want you to get another look at it. So with a workspace browser, I can select which locations I want to look. So I'm going to go into volumes mode, and I actually want to choose my Soundwave drive, and I want to go to the UCLA sound effects library. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in what I want to look for. So I'm going to type in Mercedes. I don't actually own a Mercedes, but it makes it nice to be able to suggest that I do sonically. Why not? And as long as this wheel keeps spinning, it's just going to keep looking. I'm just going to close that out because I've already got 171 results, and I've already looked for this before on a different location. So I want to first off show that I can pull these out so I can get better information about what's in these. I'm actually going to pull this entire window out a little bit more. And I can also move things around. So like having the waveform much earlier in, as well as the duration. I mean, I don't need to worry about the kind or the size as much as just waveform and how long is it. And in my case, the one that really struck my attention was a 190 Mercedes. It's an exterior shot. It starts at idle. It then drives at slow speed and shuts off. It's not a pull away, which would mean that we would have our listener in a static position and the car just drives away. With this one, now I'm actually going to be essentially next to the car, and I can test that by I'm just clicking. So that works for me. So I'm going to choose this one, and in order for me to be able to bring this into my session effectively, I'm going to hold down the Option key, and then I'm going to click and drag this over into my clips list. Now the reason why I selected the Option key is this. Let me hide my Pro Tools session for a second. And I'm going to go here into my Documents folder. I'm going to go into this McKenna one, and I'm going to go into Audio Files, and notice now this Mercedes track is here. All right? If I hadn't hit Option, Pro Tools would have simply said, oh, yeah, there's this drive. It's called Soundwave, and there's this cool folder in it, that's called the UCLA Sound Effects Library, and in there's this cool sound effect. But if I didn't have my drive connected, guess what? It would come up as this empty blank file. And when I open the session, it would say, hey, your audio files are offline. One of the biggest things that's a problem for first working with Pro Tools is understanding that there's a lot of data management. And the easiest way to control that is by option clicking when we move things in. So now that I have this, I'm actually going to take a moment to deal with the idea of our various edit modes. So the first thing that I've got is, and I'm just going to solo this for a moment. Well, I really don't need the engine starting because that wouldn't make much sense. So shuffle mode, which by the way, these are our various modes. So these were our tools. These are the tools, these are the modes. So shuffle mode, it works one way and one way only. It is things snap together. So in my case, if I go into my trimmer mode, or trim mode, so I don't like any of that. So if I were to trim this out, all right, now watch what happens when I let go of the mouse key. It snaps back to where it was. All right, so that's what shuffle mode is all about. It's about saying, hey, if I make separations and regions, and if I were to come in here and delete this, watch what happens. Gazap. It snaps them together. Shuffle mode in and of itself, you're not going to use it a lot in sound design. As a matter of fact, if you use it more than 3 or 4 times, in this entire semester, let alone in all of your work, I'm going to be surprised because not a lot of people like working with shuffle mode. In fact, it's so disliked that if I wanted to, I could go in and I could hold on the command button and turn it from shuffle mode to souffle mode, which means there ain't no shuffle mode. I can go from one to the next, but I can no longer select souffle. So shuffle is off, it is now souffle. But this then brings us to our next mode, and probably the one that you're going to use the most, which is hotkey F2, is slip mode. F3 is spot, F4 is grid, by the way. So F2 slip, that works under the idea of, hey, maybe I want to move things in relative time without changing their position on the timeline. So what I want to hear is something that kind of denotes acceleration, because you can see I'm taking off there. All right. Okay, so it looks like I start accelerating there, like. So that's kind of where I want that to be. Now, I'm going to teach you something that is not in any of the handout, but I think is really useful. So I want this part here, that seems to be when it's taking off, like. Okay, so with that in mind, I want to set what's called a sync point. That is command comma. And you'll notice what happened is these little teeny tiny triangles showed up here. All right? And now I want to find the exact moment where it looks like my car is taking off in the video. So I'm just going to go here. And I'm not even paying attention to the sound. Right there. Right? You can see the tree move. So I can set that, and now I'm going to hit enter. This is a marker, and I'm just going to call this location 1, or I'm going to call this drive away. All right, so I've got a marker, and I want this little sync point to go with this marker. And the way that I'm going to do that is because I've already got this set. If I do Control, Shift, grab or click, snap-a-doodle, it has now moved that in place. So now, as I hear it, so that's me driving away with my pup. Now in the process here, let's bring this back, because I have no idea how much of that I'm going to end up using. And for the purposes of the start here, let's trim this out to that, give myself a little fade in, so all right, cool. So now my car can drive away. It's a little bit loud though, compared to what the music would be like if I were to put these together. It's like a really loud car and really quiet music. So I'm just going to bring this down for the moment. That's pretty good. The shift is actually almost in the same period as where you can see my car shifts as well. So let's see how long we can ride that one. But that's ultimately slip mode. Slip mode is the ability to just, take stuff and move it wherever we want it. That's slip mode's thing. All right, so I just did a whole bunch of ridiculous moves, basically saying that in slip mode I can go anywhere and do anything. Now, spot mode, this one is a bit more prickly. All right, spot mode works under the world of F3. If I highlight it, it's now going to bring up this window saying, hey, where you want things to be. So in this case, it could say, well, I can move the start to this location. I could move that sync point, which you just saw me create, to this location, or I could move the end to whatever. So I can go in, and again, using my left and right arrows, I can type in. So it looks like when I tried to initially put it in place, I put it at 59 seconds, 59 frames, and 26 subframes. Well, I could say, you know what, I want this to be at exactly 1 hour for the start. So why not? I mean, I'm probably not going to lose too much by those subframes, so I can hit that, and I hit OK. And now I'm starting at exactly, 1 hour for that audio file. That was actually a remarkably useful version of spot mode. Most of the time with spot mode, you're going to have really specific time codes set. You're going to put in your sync markers or sync points, and then you're going to type those in and put them into specific locations. So let's see here. There's something else here. Let me think about this. There's probably a part where yeah, so there's my car braking, or at least what the sound of the car braking. So let me put a sync point there. I can only get one sync point per track. So you'll notice my sync point's gone from where I had it before. But I'm going to create that sync point, and I'm going to separate this region, because I believe, if I recall, at the end of this file, you can see me brake. All right. There, the car is braking, and you even see at the very, very end, there's like a kind of a steep moment where Gene's head goes forward of like, oh, hey. All right. So let's use that as the point where we're going to brake. Now, because I've set my marker here, or sorry, I've set the playback head here with the selector, I technically don't need to create a marker as long as my cursor is in the right location. So again, I can do Control, Shift, grab or click. Ah, dang it, I'm in spot mode. Cancel. That's right, I wanted to show something. Okay, so if I go in here and, all right, so right there, that's the first frame of it. So it's at 1 minute, 7 seconds, and 29 frames. Or actually, that's, sorry, I'm wrong about that. It's this value here, 1 minute, 8 seconds, 14 frames. So I'm going to put this 1 minute, 8 seconds, 14 frames. I hit OK. And now that part, okay, so that's worked for me, being able to set that moment within that piece of time. However, we've got a problem. I'm now immediately braking, so I'm going to have to go back into my good friend slip mode. Let's pull this out, because this is probably the sound of the car coming, to a slow. Come on, Dave. What? Seriously? Yeah, my Avid Video Engine can't stop. Yeah, I understand. Unable to stop. I'm just going to toggle the video on and offline. That's all that is. That's actually pretty clean over there. I'm just happy to put a crossfade on that. I'm going to save for the moment, because chances are Pro Tools has just died on me. Let's see if I can get back to life. Nope. The Avid Video Engine, in all of its infinite awesomeness, has once again goofed. All right. That's not that big of a deal. I could still teach you the other ones while this is happening, because I simply wanted to be able to, and actually I don't even need to have that big of a crossfade now that I think about it. Yes, okay, thank you, Avid Video Engine. You're awesome. I'm just going to use, yes, I understand that the Avid Video Engine was unable to stop. I'm going to make this a smaller crossfade. Yes, Avid Engine video, unable to stop. Okay, so apparently I really need to know this. Let me just... Yes, the Avid Video Engine, unable to stop. Whew. I'm going to make this actually a pretty tiny crossfade. because the sound of it was pretty good, when I listened to it. Yeah, you'd almost never know. All right, so what is grid mode? So, let me zoom in to be something a little bit more useful. Grid mode works off of the grid. And in order for that to be useful to us, we should probably set the grid to be something useful. So right now, our grid is established up here, and mine's in music. So let's put this in timecode to start with. And as far as our nudge value, let's also put that into timecode. That'll make life a little bit easier. And now it's saying, what is a grid? So what qualifies as a grid? Personally, I believe that 1 frame is the best of all grid values, because now I have every frame of video as something that qualifies as grid. So if I wanted to, I could come in and now I can make trims that are exactly 1 frame long in duration. So if I really wanted this to be right on the end of this video, and I wanted to get to the very last frame of it, whoops, let me put myself actually in grid mode. Notice it snaps to each frame. So if this is the last frame of video, which I'm going to assume it is because that's where it ends there, it only moves in 1 frame increments. And while I'm at it, hey, why don't I do the same thing to our music? There's no reason for my music to be longer than my video as well, right? So there, now being in grid mode, I have the exact same length at the start and the finish. So that's spot mode, grid mode, slip mode, and soufflé. And at this point, I will also point out, this is where the second mistake was in my handout. It is the tilde key that helps cycle me through. And you'll notice that as long as soufflé is locked up, that I can't cycle to it. So there you go. Okay, so that is edit modes. I'm going to restart Pro Tools for the next module so that we actually get our video back online.